Have you lost the connection with your higher self? Are you noticing the dis-ease of the outside world? It's time to reconnect with nature and each other and raise our consciousness, vibration, and frequency. Together we can create a world of peace and abundance. It's Spiritual Revolution Radio with your host, Dr. Will Miller.
Hello and welcome to Spiritual Revolution Radio. I'm Dr. Will Miller from the Life by Design Institute. Today, I have Debbie Anderson as my guest, and Debbie was born in England and is a natural healer and has worked in the magical sphere of spirituality all her life. She's a clairvoyant medium who now lives in Canada, but is in Mazatlan today, lucky, and has been doing intuitive spiritual readings for more than 35 years around the world. Debbie is one of the leading authorities sharing how synchronicity happens to us all of the time, whether we are in a spiritual path or not. Debbie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Will. I'm glad to be here.
So, Debbie, why don't we start off just by getting to know you a little bit? Kind of tell us how you first found out you were clairvoyant and a little bit how that led to where you're at today. You know, kind of give us that version of short version, probably.
Okay, I'll give a very short version. I started seeing, sensing spirit when I was about 4 years of age. And at that time, my parents were going through a divorce. So I'm 63 now, so that was quite many, many years ago. And it wasn't like the Enlightenment age we're in at the moment where parents know about this kind of thing or at least can look it up. And my mum just thought I was having nightmares when I saw the ceiling open and these little ethereal beings come down and sit on my grandmother's bed, because that's where we were staying at the time. And so over the course of time, spirit found a way that they could communicate with me and I would communicate with others without really aware that it was obviously taboo or not to be done. And, you know, I was sort of noted as a precocious child. I think my awareness came when I was in my teenage years, when basically I stood up on the double-decker bus I was coming home from school on and shouted out, look, there's Jesus. And everybody sort of backed up, as you do on public transport when somebody like myself, child or adult or whoever, would jump up and say something like that, you know, crazy people kind of thing. So my mother actually took me to see a psychiatrist. And in those days in the UK, if you did something like that and went to see a person of that ilk, you would end up with a lovely little white coat that wrapped your arms around your back and placed in a padded room in a mental institution. So Spirit obviously realized that was not the route to go. And I had to, as they say, suck it up, princess, and pretend that I had only done it for attention seeking. So the journey wasn't as auspicious as most people might think with it happening as a child, but as time went on, I connected with others, and eventually I was led to the Arthur Findlay College of Metaphysics in Stansted in Essex, which is noted worldwide for, in the day that I was there, of mediumship and clairvoyance. So that was when I really felt like I'd come home, as it were. And as I say, the rest is sort of history.
So did you, as you were talking, did you stop kind of being a clairvoyant, if you will, until you went to the college? I mean, did you have to hide it under the bed, if you will?
I think, yes, in those days, especially, you know, when I was married to my first husband, it sounds bad, doesn't it? When I was married to my first husband, he was not open to that kind of thing. So I did feel like I was having a secret affair with spirit. It was a wonderful one, so it was sort of done behind closed doors and things like that. And yes, I would say profound things to people that they say, well, how would you know that? How could you be aware of that? I've not told you this, or I'm a total stranger kind of thing. So some people would sort of roll their eyes and be a little bit concerned. So I had to learn in those days how to gauge when I should say something and when I should keep it zipped.
Yeah. I remember growing up, it was somewhat the same way, being an empath. You had to be careful who you told that there were other people in the room or what you were feeling sometimes. So.
But of course, you know, I didn't just go, okay, here I'm a clairvoyant medium. I worked in corporate world for many years and tried to meld the two together. And so I very rarely told people what I did in my other life, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And until one day, one of my bosses actually found out when I was working at a company and basically told me to stop, otherwise I would get fired. And of course, that's back in the UK in those days. So I had to really go sort of underground with it for a while. And then there comes a point in your life, as you know, where it's just like, you know what, I really don't care what anybody else thinks. This is what I do, like it or not. And my introduction to people now is, you know, when they say, what do you do? I say, I see dead people. And it gets one of two reactions. And that's okay.
Well, yeah, it probably sparks more interest now than it would have, 50 years ago, right? So.
Well, yes, it depends on which part of the world you actually happen to mention that in.
That's
so
true.
That's okay. But I believe everybody has their own journey, and I seem to get led to the right people at the right time, and anything else that happens, and that's why synchronicity is sort of one of my pet loves, if you like, because we tend to underestimate things that just happen and why they happen, and don't tap into that a lot more. And that's something we can all use every single day.
Well, I was actually talking to a couple of my son last night, and I was telling him, we swim around in a sea of energy, and all we have to do is open our eyes to what's around us, and the answers are all there. The answers are always there. I do want to get on the subject, though, of synchronicity a little bit, because you are such an expert on that, and it's a special interest area of mine. So let's tell the audience, because some of them may not understand exactly what synchronicity is and what causes it. Maybe kind of go into that just a little bit.
Okay, so in the dictionary, the definition is the simultaneous occurrences of events which appear significantly related but have no discernible connection. So basically, it's not based on the strict cause and effect, i.e. they are unrelated, chance encounters and random happenings. Of course, like everything in life, when something happens once, we sort of dismiss it. When it happens again and again, then it becomes synchronicity, and we actually watch for it. And that's how I like to introduce it, because, we all have those uncanny coincidences that they happen without warning. We get guided somewhere, or we speak to a stranger that gives us an answer unknowingly. The sort of serendipitous kind of synchronistic happenings that just happen. And I truly feel that this connection between our inner world, our heart, and our outer world are all interconnected. There's no divide, if you like.
Well, and I agree with you. There is no divide. So it's just it's getting out of our conditioning, if you will, and opening up the spiritual side of us to have its eyes aware of what's going on around us as well. Every day I see 1111. I usually see it twice a day. Most of the time I see 222 and 333 and 444 as well. They pop up every day, and that is that synchronicity that happens for me. And the more I notice it, and the more you start to look for little things or some little thing that may happen, and start to ask yourself, I find myself going, okay, is there a message here, right?
Yeah.
And once you start doing that, it's amazing how the synchronicity seems to jump in. And I know some people would call synchronicity a coincidence, but what would you say the difference is between the two? Explain that for people.
The difference really is coincidence. It can be perceived as chance or luck, whereas synchronicity has a deeper frequency. So the difference is, so you're thinking one that everybody can relate to. So you're thinking of buying a new vehicle, and you happen to, decide what kind of vehicle, even what color, and then all of a sudden you start seeing that vehicle around, that color and so on, because you're thinking about it. And the more likely we are to do that, it just sort of happens. Whereas Jung said that synchronicity is organizing ability to pure consciousness, because we've stepped into our own vibrational frequency without deliberately or thinking about buying a new vehicle. So we see it unconsciously or consciously, depending upon which way you're looking at it.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, we see that people are talking about it. And that's when it's synchronicity. It's like, okay, yeah, I didn't realize my neighbor had that car, or, so it's, as you say, like you keep seeing the numbers and you ask for information about it. And that's when we get that direct link from spirit, giving us that sort of own divine inner consciousness, whether it's intentional or the invisible essence, as I call it, that everything on this planet is interconnected. It's just there. And I always feel with spirit especially, they send us little breadcrumbs. And we have, a bit like going to the, the children in the story where they follow the breadcrumbs
Hansel
and end up at the gingerbread house. Yeah. And of course, this is what we have in life every single day. So we hear something on the radio, maybe it's connected to something that we were thinking about, or we had inadvertently said, I really like some direction on X, X, and X. This I do a lot of the time. In fact, now I just do it because I know that spirit are going to connect in and say, okay, we can help you with this. But of course, we live in that nanosecond world where we have expectations that the delivery is going to be instantaneous, like the hamburger when we go into the takeout place. We have to be open, heart-centered, and consciously in awareness.
Well, and understand that the thing that I had to learn, and my understanding was coming to a point where I had to say, you know what, I'm not going to. I expect this answer, and I keep getting this answer, and that's okay. We have to kind of let go of our expectations, I think, a little bit, because we hold on to that. We're taught that we need to force the change, and allowing spirit to give us the answers, and then in a different way. Is something we have to do.
Exactly. And sometimes we can't expect it verbatim, as I say to people. When I get messages from spirit, it's like a meld of all this information coming through at one time that I have to sort and collectively work out what is the most important thing and then put it together to deliver that information to a client. So if you're seeing numbers all the time, or you're seeing the red car every time, and that's what you're considering buying, then tap into that and ask what's next? What is the significance? Why am I seeing these numbers? And I always say to people, look it up on the internet. We have so many resources there to do with numerology, angel numbers, and so forth. And see then what resonates with you. Well, does that wording resonate? And if so, move with it, step with it.
Right. And it's also I teach at the Life by Design Institute. Before you can really look for the answers, you have to have you have to have an intention. You have to have and if you don't have an intention, the universe doesn't know how to work without that.
And of course we have, if we don't get the answer or we don't get what we want, it's like then we go on to the next thing. We're like a 3-year-old child. We see a new toy and we go for it, and then we get bored with it, and then we go for something else if it doesn't fulfill our expectations. And that's why I say to people, stick with it. Maybe find a different way to ask the question for what you need the answer to. Reword it, as sometimes we have to, because that way we're then open. But don't just have it open to, I'm going to have my message delivered. Just see, watch, hear for everything that's going on, and maybe the messages are subliminal in the way that you may see I have a friend that's in Australia, and out of the blue, I'm driving to go and deliver a workshop, and all of a sudden I see a little kangaroo on the back of a truck. Now I immediately thought of her. Then I saw the vehicle beside me had the exhaust over the top of the roof, which they do in Australia, but not very much in Canada. So I thought, okay, I've had 2 signs very quickly. I need to tap in and speak to that person. Yeah. And then there was something else. So I got 3 little short blasts of messages there. And then I connected with that person later on when I got home. And she said, well, actually, I was thinking about you. So there wasn't any life-threatening major catastrophes happening. She just happened to be thinking of me, and it connected in for me to connect back with her. So, they don't have to be huge things. It could just be somebody's thinking about you, just like we get that little bug in our ears sometimes when we're out and we go, oh, I haven't heard from so-and-so in a while. And then all of a sudden we'll get a phone call from them or a text message or something will pop up. And again, it doesn't have to be life destroying or life changing. It's just a reminder.
Yeah, I agree. So kind of give, I talked about numbers, we've talked about seeing red cars, kind of give some people some more ideas of what they can look for in synchronicity, and so they help learn, help them understand.
Well, be open. I always say be open, heart-centered, not head-centered. Because head-centered, we tend to go into the let me work this out. Oh, no, it's just a random thing. Don't think about it. And then we dismiss it because our consciousness gets in there and we fight it. So let it just happen. When something happens and you're thinking, oh, is this a synchronistic event? Like you walk into that coffee place that you've not been into before, and all of a sudden you see a quote up on the wall that just resonates with you. Okay, is that the quote that drew you there? Was it the coffee that drew you there? And be open to see what else you'll receive, because it may be that you're going to meet somebody there, pick up something, see something on a wall. I think we walk sometimes with tunnel vision into everything in life, and we just see our goal ahead of us and we miss all the amazing things that are going on around us. So be open, ask for help, whether it's God, Buddha, Allah, whatever your belief system is, ask. So did that bird that came to me today, fluttered in front of me, was that a message? Yeah. And then keep building on it, like having a conversation with somebody. And I always say, yes, you're having it in your head, but then, you might see something else. And that's how we build on it. That's how we raise our frequency and shift and change things within us.
So, synchronicity is really tied to vibration, because everything is vibration. Everything is vibrating, right? So how does synchronicity, in your mind, tie into, because I teach that synchronicity ties into your vibration and it's a message, really, of raising the vibration. So it kind of help us understand your thinking on that.
Well, here's the thing, each of us are receiving different messages, just like each of us, say, are tuning into a radio station. Maybe you like rock and roll, maybe you like hip hop, maybe you like some soul soothing kind of music. So that's where you're going to start getting that connection with those type of messages. So depending upon what our intention is, and this is why you brought this up, that we have to be in that intention and step into it with full gusto, if you like. Be there now, present. Don't be sort of thinking about, I'm going to be cooking supper or I've got to pick the kids up from school. Yes, they're there. But if you want to get this information, be there present and say, okay, share this with me. Give me some answers. Help me with this. Where do I need to go? And the trouble is we live in a world where we have expectations that the coffee shop when we arrived there and the notice on the wall was the correct one, and maybe we went on the workshop that we saw there and then realized it wasn't. Maybe there's something else. So don't dismiss it if it doesn't seem to fit immediately. This is where I always say to people, have your spidey senses open. And we all have them. We just have to open them up from time to time and just accept that there is not a tangible reason. And sometimes we may see it 3 or 4 times before it starts to resonate with us. I think big marketers say that's why they do so much advertising, is we have to keep sending the same message 3 or 4 times before people see it, hear it, and then connect with it. So I hope that, makes sense to people. And if it's not working for you, then shift your consciousness. Because maybe it's you having expectations, as you said, Dr. Will, that I have expectations that this is going to be like a choir of angels, a little banner saying glory be to God above or something like that. Whereas it may just be something as simple as a coin that's left on the ground, or you seeing the numbers because you happen to wake up at that time and look at the clock. So continue down that road with the breadcrumbs and ask the questions. Why did I see this? What is the significance? Am I missing something? Is there something I need to know? And keep asking those in an open way that we can get the information back.
I like to tell my students, we've got to go back to when you remember in school when we were taught to always question how, why, what, when, right?
Yes.
And be open to doing that, and then listening for the answer. Kind of give us the simple tools you use to kind of stay on a good vibrational journey and be in synchronicity.
Yeah.
Give us 2 or 3 tools to use here.
Raise your vibrational frequency is number one. Step into positive. If you use as much energy to be negative, switch it up, people. Try the positive. And even if your life isn't going in the direction you want at the moment, the more you build on that, the stronger it becomes. It's like a muscle that we tend to forget using. Step away from fear. That is probably my second one. And again, don't have negative Nellies or Nigels around you. Shift that. And if you still have to have them, they're family members or whatever it is, then ignore it. But align yourself to people that will work with you to get a positive outcome. And most importantly, you're on this journey for you. So step into what you mean for you. The I am frequency. And this is a big part of what I love to tell people is like Rome was not built in a day, believe it or not. And even I think God took 7 days to create our universe that we have as a 7-day week. So, take baby steps, baby bites, if you like, of it. Don't assume that overnight you're going to become this vibrational being that's happy and all those kind of things. You have to work on it, just like a diet. Just like quitting an addiction of some point, you have to do that. And I think the next point I would say is never stop asking your guides, your angels, your helpers, God, Buddha, Allah, whatever. Call them prayers, call them incantations, shouts of frustration even. Although I don't suggest using that as the best way to communicate, but sometimes it happens. We just need to get it out of ourselves, which again is really important. Watch for the breadcrumbs.
Yeah, I like it. It's a good analogy for sure. We're running. This goes so fast as we get going.
I know.
We only have basically about a minute and a half left here, but I want to let people know that you have designed some oracle cards, some affirmation decks as well. I think 3 of them are available downloadable as an app, if I'm right. And tell us how people can find you, how they can get those decks and how they can find out everything about you.
I always say go to the one-stop shop, go to my website. It's vibrational-energy.com. And when you get there, you can sign up for my newsletter, get a free meditation download, find the apps, me, about me, and all my social media links as well. So vibrational-energy.com.
And you're also doing readings every week, I think, as well.
I have been doing, I've changed up actually a lot this year. So a lot of new things coming out of it because I love that. And it's not the same old. So things are shifting within my YouTube channel and all the things that I'm doing. So again, website, everything's there.
All right. So definitely the website, give it to us one more time. Can you hear me? Vibrational-energy.com, right? Well, everyone, little technical difficulty there, but I want to let you know, listen, we're committed here at Spiritual Revolution Radio to bringing you the knowledge you need to raise your frequency and set your soul free. That's what we're all about. Remember, people, knowledge is power. Knowledge frees the mind from our conditioning and sets our soul free. Now is the times for our soul and our hearts and mind to find their higher self. I'm Dr. Will Miller, and definitely check out my website at Life by Design Institute. And Debbie, thank you for being on the show today. And give us your website one more time, if you would.
Vibrational-energy.com. And thank you, Dr. Will. It's been a pleasure.
It has been fun. And you enjoy Mazatlan, for sure. I'm a little jealous. I'm not going to lie. All right. Well, to comment, find us at spiritualrevolutionradio.com. And if you want to be on the show, you can ask there as well. And check out my website at Life by Design Institute. Thank you, and love and peace, everyone.
This has been Spiritual Revolution Radio with Dr. Will Miller. For more information or to be a guest, please visit lifebydesign.institute. Join us next week for another edition of Spiritual Revolution Radio with your host, Dr. Will Miller. This has been a production from a podcast studio.